we're going to have our city attorney, Eric Vale, report on our closed session.
Mayor, the city council completed, I think, the employee performance evaluation of the city attorney this evening. City attorney still here. Will be until otherwise told for a long time, hopefully.
And we're very grateful that you're still here. So, I guess that's it. So we're in adjournment.
Okay.
Okay. We'll start in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call the regular meeting of September 5th to order. Do we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez.
Here.
Councilmember Fish.
Here.
Councilmember Yu.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mann.
Here.
Mayor Sternquist.
Here. We move to item 3, the invocation. Pastor Kevin Camato is here this evening. He is with the Seventh-day Adventist Church at 5319 North Halifax. He will be providing the invocation this evening. Pastor Camato pastors the Upper Room Fellowship Seventh-day Adventist Church. Their church group rents the facility of the Bethlehem Lutheran Church on Saturdays from 10:45 to 1:30 p.m. Welcome, Pastor. Would you please stand and join me?
God, as we come here together to discuss important matters, I pray that you will be with each of our council members and the rest of the Temple City government here. Lord, I pray that you be with our members, the people of this city that come to talk about important matters and discuss them to make Temple City a great and safe city. I pray that all the things that are discussed, whether it be our children, whether it be safety, whether it be anything else regarding things that help this city become even better, we pray that you will bless. Thank you so much for all that you have done, and may you continue to lead us all. We pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. We move to item 4, the Pledge of Allegiance, and this evening we have Girl Scout Troop 5141 that will be leading us in the pledge. Welcome, ladies.
Color guard, attention. Color guard, forward march. Color guard, call. Color guard, cross the colors. Color guard, prepare the colors. Color guard, post the colors. clothed in uniform, please salute everyone else in attendance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard retreat. Color guard halt. Color guard forward march. Color guard halt. Color guard dismiss. Thank you.
Thank you, girls. Okay, before we move to ceremonial matters, I just want to acknowledge that Deputy Zuniga is here this evening. Thank you for being here with us. And Captain Flores is in the back, and they help us keep order.
Rowdy bunch out there.
I know. Rowdy.
And we move to Pet of the Month, and we have Doreen Hudson here from the San Gabriel Valley Humane Society, and she is a volunteer.
Well, hello, City Council members. I'd like to introduce you to Scooter. Scooter is your pet of the month. He's a senior boy. He's about almost 9 years old, and he weighs just a little under 8 pounds. He's a Chihuahua Terrier mix by our best guess, and he was surrendered by his owner to the shelter, who said he couldn't care for Scooter anymore. So Scooter's used to living with a family and would sure like to live with a family again. So he's available for adoption at the shelter, hoping to get a home. We have lots of news at the shelter. We participated in a recent Clear the Shelters event on August 19th, and we had a record day for adoption. We placed 22 dogs and cats and a rabbit in homes, so we were happy about that. And you should be aware that we've let the secret out of the bag about being selected by Animal Planet for Pet Nation renovation, and our shelter received about $150,000 in renovations. They were completed. The show itself will air on September 13th, a week from Wednesday, at 7 o'clock here in California, and it'll highlight the transformation that went on at the shelter during the month of June and July.
Doreen, can you share just what are some of the improvements?
Sure. Well, if you've driven by the shelter, the first one you're going to notice is kind of a facelift. So the whole front of our shelter has been repainted and brightened up with lots of bright color, and really just a much more attractive, I think, and inviting appearance. It looks like fun goes on inside, and fun is going on inside. So we're hoping to be able to attract the community and bring more people in just by our physical appearance on the outside. That's a big one for us. They've also created a play space they call Doggy Bahamas, which is a very large play yard with lots of water features and cooling stations for our dogs, so that the dogs can actually go and spend time in an area as big as a big backyard and really just kind of goof off and be silly dogs and run around and play. We've got activity centers and bone-shaped doggy swimming pools, and lots of fun for the dogs. So anyway, hope you can come by and see our new digs.
We will. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
And
you
look
so
for the
much.
show, September 13th on Animal Planet at 7 o'clock, Pet Nation renovation. It's Animal Planet, so that's its own cable network. Yeah. Okay, thanks, everyone. Scooter says fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we move to item 6, public comments on items not listed on the agenda. And let's see, Steve? No, yours has 9A, 9B. Is there anyone? That's it? Okay, we're going to close public comment. Item 7, consent calendar. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Second?
Okay, the motion has been moved and seconded. Any objections? Okay, the motion passes. Item 8, public hearing none, unfinished business, curb address painting program. The City Council directed staff to issue a request for qualifications to nonprofit organizations interested in painting curb address numbers as a fundraiser or community service. 2 responses were received from Canning Hunger and Care for the Children. And we have Michael Forbes, our Community Development Director, who will give us some information on those organizations.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. As Madam Mayor indicated, the council previously asked us to do a request for qualifications to nonprofit organizations that might be interested in doing curb painting as a fundraiser and or a community service. We received proposals back from 2 groups, Canning Hunger and Care for the Children, both of which are bona fide nonprofits. One dealing with hunger issues, the other dealing with a variety of children's issues. We looked through the materials that both of them submitted, contacted the contacts that they provided for other cities to see what their experiences were. Both of the organizations seem like they're qualified and do good work and generally had a good track record with the other cities that they've worked in. We're recommending that the council direct us to go forward with Canning Hunger just because based on the references that we contacted, it seemed like they had a little bit better control over the quality of work as far as fewer complaints of having to go back and fix problems. And also it seemed like they were a little bit quicker to respond to if issues came up or complaints came up from residents or anything like that. They seem to be a little bit better equipped to respond to those. But like I said, both of the organizations had plenty of experience and seemed like they were doing well. And certainly we can go forward with Canning Hunger now and see what kind of job they do, and if we need to revisit this at a later time and solicit proposals again in the future, we could do that. But this evening, we're asking for direction to go ahead with Canning Hunger. There's no contract or anything like that to be executed since they will just be soliciting donations directly from the community, but we will be working with them as far as the outreach goes and making sure that adequate notice is provided and all of that, which is outlined in the staff report. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Michael, for the public, how large were the cities that they've worked in? Were they comparable or larger?
Comparable and larger.
And larger, and it was $15 donation is
What they ask
What
for.
they
Yeah.
ask.
They'll accept anything, and the donation, of course, is optional. It's not required.
Are there any council questions? Tom?
Is there anybody here from the organization tonight?
I don't believe so. We let both of the organizations know that it was going to be on the agenda tonight, and we let them know that we were going to be recommending Canning Hunger. But I don't believe
Because
anyone is in
the only
attendance.
question I had is I'd like to know a little bit more about the in-person solicitation process. A couple of questions came to my mind is, it appears that they're going to do the work, and then after the work is done, someone will appear at that person's door asking for a donation. Is that correct so far?
Yes, the notices will go out first, so the notices will be posted on the doors saying, on this date, your curb is going to be painted, and on this date, someone will be coming by for an optional solicitation. Then the painting will be done, then they will go back and solicit for donations.
Kind of a little off the topic, though, another question came to my mind is they're not going to be able to refuse that, are they? I mean, these curbs are going to be painted regardless as a part of the
Yes,
city's
we
policy.
discussed that with the Public Works Standing Committee, and the feeling of the committee as well as staff was that for consistency purposes, it would be better to paint all of them, and that's typically what other cities have done also.
So did they share with you what their process is for this in-person solicitation? Because I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels, but, you know, if I get home today and somebody's knocking on my door, I don't want to listen to a whole spiel about, you know, the whole thing. And have they told you how they're going to do it? Is it a hard sell, soft sell? And do they expect you to give them a check then and there? Or do you have the option of mailing it in afterwards, let's say? And also, do they just remain outside the door? Do they expect to be invited in? Are there going to be interpreters? All those kind of things come to my mind regarding this in-person solicitation.
We didn't get into that level of detail with them, but just based on our discussions with other cities and what I've seen other organizations do, I think it's typically just pretty quick because they're trying to, hit as many houses as they can. I don't think they would expect to be invited in, nor I don't think the residents would necessarily want them to come in. And you can
You never
either,
know. I don't know what they're gonna ask.
yeah, I don't think the expectation is not that they would want to come in. I think
So
they
they're just
want to
gonna
be
knock
there
on
and
the
gone as
door.
quickly as
They'll
possible.
knock on the door, tell them, kind of identify who they are.
Right.
And I see by the report, they're gonna have some distinguishing shirts or badges on them.
We will require them to
And
have
that'll
some
be
kind
part
of
the
ID.
notice, so people should know who they are.
Yes.
And then, obviously, they're gonna need to spend some time telling this person or refreshing their recollection as to why they're there. And I'm presuming they're gonna ask for $15.
That's the
And
suggested
so,
amount, yes.
Did they, are the residents expected to hand them a check or cash at that time, or are they gonna have the option of mailing in, or?
They
I mean, I
can,
don't
typically, I think people pay it at that time, but I'm sure if someone wants to mail a check in later, I'm sure that they would give them an address to do that. And we
I
can,
would think they would have an envelope already.
There's
made out.
a copy of what they're going to be giving the residents?
Yeah, no, I saw the notice, yeah.
Yeah,
but
and
I'm
it
just-
says,
I'm saying-
here that it has the address and it has who to make the check out to.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, when they show up at their door, I'm assuming they're gonna want a check, or
I don't,
maybe they'll give you an envelope and say, well, go ahead and mail it to us, or whatever, I don't know. Well-
yeah, on their handout, it says make checks payable to, and it has an address, so you could always mail it in
and then it also
later.
says they'll give them a receipt.
And as far as if there's concern about the time of day that they would be soliciting, one of the requirements that we will put on them is that the city has to give approval of the days and hours, both for the painting and for the solicitation.
You know,
So
I saw in here that they're not gonna solicit after 7:30 or on Sundays.
Right.
It doesn't say how soon they're gonna be at your door, though. I assume there's a starting time. I would think,
Yeah.
they're probably gonna do mostly in the evening, that's when people are home, but I guess they
Typically,
can do it
yes.
during the day, too.
I think, don't we?
And do
Oh, I'm sorry.
these gonna, I see these notices are primarily in English, or do we have any, I know a lot of our community is.
we can,
Can we translate it, or?
we can't, yes, one of the conditions we're putting on them is that the city has to approve the notice beforehand, so we will make sure that there's a translation provided. If
I think it
not
would be
by,
helpful to them.
yeah, if they're not able to do it, then we can help them with that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
May I add
Yes.
just some clarification questions? So the notice will be sent by them or sent by us?
It will be hand delivered by them.
Hand delivered, so
But we will-
city, we don't actually send out anything?
We will review it and approve it before it goes out.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because I thought staff report says the city will publicize the address painting program through its various outreach methods, so I was just wasn't sure whether we're sending out a letter or we'll be putting on our website presumably?
Yeah, well, that was referring to the website, social media, and our other
I see,
outreach methods.
okay.
I didn't see a beginning date on this. Did they give you any timeline?
No, once we get direction from the council to go forward, then we'll be in touch with them to
Yeah.
discuss a schedule.
I think it'd be good that we test them out, let's say in a few streets, and see how that works out. Or what's the implementation methodology? You're not gonna do the entire city all at once, we'll be dividing them up into sections, I presume.
It'll be done in phases, but in our discussions with Canning Hunger, their feeling was that given how relatively small our city is, that they would just come out and knock it out. Because we had asked them about the possibility of splitting up the city and
Right.
letting them have some of it and Care for the Children have some of it, and they said in their experience, it's just better for one organization to do one city, so everybody knows who's out there and who's doing it and when they're doing it, and just get it done.
Okay, do you know how long roughly it would take to do our entire city?
I don't, off the top of my head. I'm sure they could do it within a few weeks.
And then we'll kind of have a test period as well, the first couple of weeks of an area, and we want them to identify the areas they're targeting too, so that we can go out and kind of see the quality of their work, see how people are, if we're getting any level of complaints and those things as well. And as part of the condition in the permit, you know, just like any other contract, we can revoke that permit as well if necessary.
Or
It
maybe
is-
give
it is our
some
hope-
guidance,
I'm sorry, Mayor.
or maybe give some guidance if a little.
Have them work to improve whatever they need to improve, but based on the references Mr. Forbes has received and staff has received, this is a good organization that will be able to do the job, do it with a level of customer care as well. But to the point, to Councilmember Yu's point, to kind of see how it's going, since haven't done this type of project here in quite a while or ever, we will be able to kind of fill them out the first couple weeks as well.
Hey, I'm happy just to see it moving forward, and I think with a little bit of staff time to go out there and make sure things are okay, it should be fine. Tom, you have?
Yeah, I just comment, I think the success of this program will be publicity, making sure everybody knows what we're doing and why we're doing it and who's doing it. I noticed that we're going to make every attempt to put it in all our media sources that are available, because I know giving that notice at the door, I presume they're gonna do a door hanger or something like that, or put a slip of paper in the,
Yeah, it'll be
doorway,
hand delivered, either
hand-delivered
as a
somehow.
hanger or a, yes.
But, you know, I think the more we publicize it, the more, because I know even however we publicize it, people are gonna still probably call sales, so, hey, there's somebody at my door soliciting for money. What's that all about? You know, and I think it's incumbent on us to get that word out as much as we can, as soon as we can. And that might be one reason why we want to find out when this is going to begin, because we want to make sure that we have enough time to publicize as well, so that we don't get caught, you know, all of a sudden people are out there painting curbs and you're going to get to lose with phone calls about that, so.
We'll get it moving. We just need to, for today's action is to buy off on the concept, and then for us to properly plan kind of on a go-forward basis, so that, you know, we won't rush into this and start this in 2 weeks.
Right.
Brian, would you reach out to the chamber and they'll put it in the paper also?
We'll reach out to all our avenues.
Okay, any other council questions?
Just one quick question. Are residents allowed to refuse the curb painting,
No.
or
I
no,
asked
right?
that earlier. I
Oh, you
don't
did?
think
No.
they can.
No, it's in the public right of way, so it's actually city property, so they don't have a right to refuse it.
Okay. Because I guess I've just heard of cases of other organizations that have come and people think they're for-profit organizations because they're soliciting the money. So they said, "Oh, I don't want to pay you any money, so don't repaint my curb."
Right,
That's a common misconception, right?
That's one of the reasons we're going to require them to do all the painting first and then go back and do
then
the
the soliciting.
donation, so that it will already be done.
Okay.
Yeah, they're taking a certain amount of risk themselves, because
Yeah,
Yeah.
if the
exactly.
majority of people say, no, we don't want to pay, and
Right.
I don't know what their costs are, but I'm sure they have some costs.
I'm sure that they have enough experience doing it. I'm sure they
not
they
their
know that they'll get enough to make it worth their while.
Yeah, they've been doing this for 14 years in Montebello and Santa Ana and Whittier, so.
I have a question. It says that staff will be deciding like the hours that they're going to be, is that, who is going to be deciding? Is it going to be our city manager, or is it going to be?
It'll be it'll be between myself and Mr. Forbes as we go through, just kind of figuring out what reasonable times are. So,
Okay,
because this organization is also a volunteer organization as well.
right.
But they're certified trained volunteers with some level, with professional staff with them too. So there'll be some staggering of scheduling as well. So we'll try to create as much of a consistent schedule and routes as possible. But because this is a nonprofit organization, not a commercial organization who's incentivized to, like a public works contract, to get something done quickly and get it done on time and those things, there's a little bit more work to be done between, from an implementation standpoint on the ground as we're working through this. And if there's any significant changes, obviously, we'll keep the council abreast, of course. But if things change, or if we create kind of what the standard operating schedule is, that will obviously be publicized extensively. But if there's any changes to that, we'll be able to publicize those as well.
And do we have any idea, are they going to be driving vans or cars that have the name of the company, or they drive their own car, or, and the only reason is because I know residents get a little nervous if there's different cars parked, and, I mean, do they come, since it's volunteer?
The individuals will have the T-shirts and IDs. The vehicles themselves, I'm
We don't know if they're
not
gonna-
sure.
They're
If-
going to show
I don't.
anything?
The organization, I don't think, has their own vehicles, so I don't know if they would put like a sticker on the side saying it or something. But the individuals will definitely have the shirts and the photo IDs.
Okay.
Okay, any other council questions? Okay, I'm going to open public comment. Steve Stafford?
Mayor Sternquist, Mayor Pro Tempore Mann, council members, city staff. One thing I'd like to know, if they're, when they walk up, if they're going to have some sort of badge that IDs who they are when they walk up. I think that's important with
They are.
a lot, you know, where I live, the solicitation is getting so bad, it started on phones, and now people are leaving flyers up there. And they need to,
They
these
are
guys
going to
should be
have
wearing
those
a badge, you know. I like the idea. I mean, it needs to be done. A lot of the addresses everywhere are just worn down. You can't even tell what it says. And I appreciate you guys doing this, but one thing again, they should be having a badge. Thank you.
Michael? Could you maybe for our audience just read what they're going to be doing? Where it says all Canning Hunger volunteers, representatives, and then maybe just read this list.
Yes, this is the information they provided to us, and we will require that they abide by this. So it says all Canning Hunger volunteers and representatives will wear an orange and white Canning Hunger T-shirt, carry a photo ID, have a valid copy of the city permit or business license, which in our case is going to be an encroachment permit and a solicitor's permit, carry a Canning Hunger proof manual, offer a Canning Hunger donation receipt, will not visit homes after 7:30 p.m. or on Sundays, and if the council prefers an earlier time than 7:30, we can require that also, and are not city employees.
Thank you.
Okay, Jerry Jambazian?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak to this. Hopefully, I can get all my questions in under the 3 minutes. This is very near and dear to my heart because 2.5 years ago, I took about 90 pictures in a 4-block area where you couldn't even see the numbers. And I thought that this was really a safety issue. But just a couple questions on page 2 on the bullet points. All existing curb numbers must be painted. I noticed when I was traveling around taking these photos that a lot of homes did not even have curb numbers painted on them. So I'm wondering, does it have to be existing, or if it doesn't have a curb number, are they going to paint one? That would be question number 1. Is this only for residences or businesses on Las Tunas? Are they going to be included also? Might even get more money from the businesses.
What
So
about the
that would be,
businesses on Temple City Boulevard? You just said Las Tunas.
yeah,
They
sure.
probably want them too, don't they?
I would think so, and maybe Lower Azusa.
Yeah.
But that would be question number 2. And I guess I had a question about the hand-delivered part, how that was going to, but I think that question was already answered. And then Councilmember Chavez brought up the part about the bilingual. That was a question of mine also, that it would be bilingual.
Absolutely.
Let's see, a couple more. The estimated value of this service is $15. I can tell you, that's awfully reasonable. I live in the county unincorporated area, just about 2 blocks from the high school. Every year, they come around dinging us for $20 to $25. It doesn't need it that often, and yet they keep coming out and doing it. They do a great job, no question about it, but $15 seems awfully reasonable for doing this. Can they also pay by credit card? if they do not want to pay by check or cash? Can they do that online through a portal that Canning Hunger has? Or that would be another question that I would have. And I guess on the door hanger, the word tax deductible is missing. And it just seems like they're going, they will then offer a receipt to those who choose to make a donation. Since they're a 501c3, it should be a tax deductible receipt that they should offer. That's about it. I posted on Facebook today pictures of a nicely painted curb and an old one, and I've already received some comments back saying, about time, we need this. So,
Good job, because
yeah,
your
I
time
mean,
is up,
if
Jerry.
if you ever need Station 47 to come at your house, or a sheriff from Temple Station, you want to make sure every second counts, and you want them there as soon as possible. I would like to see what challenge they're going to be presented with the real skinny curbs. And maybe Director Forbes could maybe address that on how they're going to handle that. Are they going to paint it on top like they have done in the past, or how they're going to do it? But my last question is, does Canning Hunger know the demographics of our city and what a challenge it could be with the communications? So that would be all my questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jerry.
So I can take 58 seconds off of your public comment at the end of the meeting. Anyone else? Jim?
Are those questions going to be answered tonight, or are they? Oh, okay. They'll wait till the end? Okay.
Good evening, Mayor Sternquist and City Council. I just have one question. Have we seen a sample of what it's going to look like? In other words, the size of the numbers, the style? Because I know I've seen some that have been done in other areas, and they're either like narrow, or an 8 might look like a 3 or something like that. And I'm just, for the sake of them being something that is going to be useful, I think we should see a sample and get an idea of what the style is going to be. And then the other question is if they're going to be reflective, because I know last time a fellow came by to my house, and this was years ago, and it was only $10. I had a bag with him with the paint and everything else, and he said he was going to paint it, and I said, yeah, go ahead. And he didn't ask for a donation. I told him, oh, when you're done, just let me know. About less than 10 minutes later, he was done. And what I noticed is that they had used some reflective powder or something when the paint was still wet. And definitely worth the $10. And the fellow had a card. I don't know if it was valid or whatever, but it was some college charity type of a thing. But he did a good job. And it's barely readable now because it's been that long.
Yeah.
But that's just my question, if we know what it's going to look like. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Michael, would you like to answer those?
Back to my, okay. I'll see if I can cover all of them. Regarding whether it's residential or business addresses, the intent is that it will be both. So all addresses. The reason that we said all existing curb numbers must be repainted is because there are some properties that have multiple addresses on the same property, and all of those addresses are not listed on the curb now just because there's not room for all of them. So the intent was if a decision was made in the past that there wasn't room for all those addresses, we don't want to try and cram them in now. So we just want them to repaint whatever's already there. Similarly, if in places where the curb is only a couple of inches high and there's no number there now because there's no room to paint it, we don't want, if they want to put it on top of the curb, that's great, but I don't know necessarily that the people in the field are going to, be comfortable making those kinds of decisions. So our primary concern was just to replace everything that's out there now and not necessarily add to it. In cases where there's no address at all, then yes, we would want to work with them to get some address put in those cases. As to whether or not they accept credit cards, I don't know if the people at the door are going to have the ability to accept credit cards. However, they do accept credit cards through their website. I just went on their website right now, and you can pay with a credit card, a debit card, or an e-check through their website. So they will do that. Were there other questions I'm missing? I think that
Sample, did we get a
covered
sample of
that.
their product?
Oh,
Mr. Forbes?
they will paint. It's in their materials, which is the pretty standard specification. They're 4-inch black stenciled letters on a white reflective background, and that's pretty standard. So we would check and make sure that that's what they're doing and that it's all legible. But the 4-inch black letter on a white reflective background is pretty standard, and that's what they do. And we'll definitely be out there as they're doing the work. They have their own supervisors that do quality control, but staff will definitely be out there also doing quality control to make sure that they're legible and doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to close.
I think one of the question was asked was if they understand the demographics in our city, that they may have some challenges perhaps.
Well, I mean, we'll work with them to do the bilingual flyers. I don't know if they have multilingual solicitors or not. I know they've worked in other cities with diverse demographics, so I'm sure they're accustomed to dealing with that. I don't know, if they have Mandarin speakers specifically or Cantonese speakers that would be able to deal with some of our residents, but we can certainly discuss that with them.
We can use, actually, I'm sure Lucy would be happy to send out some information to the Mercy Housing Group. I mean, that list was probably 1,200 strong, and a lot of them lived in our city, so that would be a good use of social media, too, to use that site to help with those who don't speak English. I know my neighbor would be happy to translate it also, and she did some of that for the Mercy Housing Project. Okay, I'm going to close public comment, and do we have any more council comment?
Mayor
Tom?
Sternquist, could we, as a council tonight, maybe give some direction on the time that they will visit the home? I'm a little concerned about 7:30 p.m., especially since we're coming up on the end of daylight savings time soon. It gets dark at 5 o'clock. I don't know if 7:30, I don't know how the council members, so I feel 7:30 is a little late to be knocking on somebody's door. But
How about just office hours before 5:30? Something
Well,
like
they
that,
probably
right?
want-
They're not going to be home, I don't think.
I don't know, I would say 6:30 maybe at the
6:30?
latest.
Well, since they do have the ability to pay online and with a credit card, they don't have to worry about being
That's true.
home. So I think
That's
you
true.
could do 6 o'clock.
Well, I'm sure the reason for going to the door is so that they're in
Sure.
their face and
Yeah.
you'd be more inclined to give some money to somebody. But, you're right. I think if they could always maybe hang something on the door, sorry we missed you. If I was my business, I would say, sorry we missed you, here's an envelope for your donation, thank you very much. But, I don't know, I just think 7:30 is a little late.
Are allowed, just for your information, for your consideration, our construction hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday.
Maybe do this.
Which nobody follows, of course, but
That's another matter, but
that's another day.
Well, maybe we should follow that.
Yeah, we'll follow it. All right,
7?
I'll take
7 to
7.
7?
Anything, yeah,
Okay.
And no Sundays.
no Sunday.
No Sundays. Can we have a council motion?
Mayor Sternquist, I would make a motion that we direct staff to implement a curb address painting program with the nonprofit organization Canning Hunger, taking into consideration the conditions and qualifications we discussed this evening,
I'll second.
specifically the time.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion has been moved and seconded. If no objection, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Fish?
Yes.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Man?
Yes.
Mayor Sternquist?
Yes. Okay, we move to item 9B, public parking lot at 5800 Temple City Boulevard. Staff is presenting for council's review and direction on decorative element parking wayfinding signs and parking study with interim use for the new parking lot. And I think both Brian Cook and Michael.
Just me tonight,
you?
Madam
Okay.
Mayor. Madam Mayor, members of the council, thank you this evening. From a standing committee discussion that we had earlier in the mid part of August, we presented several concepts, and the committee actually asked us to bring all those concepts back to you both for your input and direction as it relates to some of the ancillary things related to the 5800 Temple City Boulevard parking lot, but also to a couple other things. And there are three things in particular that we would like for discussion and direction on tonight. One of which is a decorative element, which was previously noted in the plans as a directory sign. And I'll go into some more detail about this in a few moments. The other element, the second element, is the parking wayfinding signs, and some concepts that you'll see in our part of your packet. The other one is just the interim use for 5800 Temple City Boulevard lot, in conjunction then with an update to the parking, downtown parking strategy. So the designs for each of the decorative elements and the parking wayfinding signs have been attached in your report. The decorative element concept reviews that we're going to go through previously called out for a directory, as presented in this staff report, are actually concepts for a decorative design element. And all of these elements really use, and for the discussion and direction tonight, all of these elements use the Camellia logo as the foundational basis for the designs and the riffs or the variations of those designs. We'll discuss a few in more detail, one of which we discussed in a little bit of detail was one which was a three-dimensional layered aluminum panel. The other concepts are similar in nature, but would use either color, black, or different types of renderings. The parking wayfinding signs also are for your review and discussion and direction tonight. As we'll see in some of the pictures that I'll present, the downtown has a mixture of signage. It does not have a uniform signage program to identify, one, the location, and two, the direction of where public parking is available. So the concepts explored again use the foundational basis of the Camellia and the black background for the logo itself from a branding perspective. The standing committee did have some discussion on this and gave us some direction on size and the directional arrows outlined in the staff report as well. The interim parking use and the downtown parking strategy, which is laid out in your staff report a little bit more. So it would be proposed for now that the interim use of the 5800 lot be all-day parking with normal overnight restrictions, and that the city then conduct a really door-to-door aggressive outreach with the businesses throughout the downtown core to let them know about the availability and the use of the lot at its interim use. The parking strategy itself that would be updated is from the 2012 study and would consider changes that have happened in land use and needs, update the inventory, look at a current use analysis, and more importantly, an implementation plan that would have specific action items, even before necessarily even the plan was finalized, coming to the council and saying, here are some very quick, easy, updated things we can do right today that we can fix, come to you with those, and have a very strong action plan associated with those. So tonight is one step further in providing better public parking opportunities in our downtown core along Las Tunas and Temple City Boulevard, and we're looking for some direction from each of those items tonight. So if I may, Madam Mayor, if I can go through and we can walk through some of the conceptual ideas, and we can get your sense of where you want to go, what direction, but and give you a sense of conceptually where we went. So the first, excuse me. The first idea that we did discuss in a little bit was using the Camellia outline with a three-layered aluminum paneling. So again, from a branding perspective, what we're trying to do is use the Camellia, use the existing logo, and do some different and interesting things with it, but identify it throughout. So that was one of the things we discussed. The other thing we discussed with this, without the color, provides for better long-term maintenance and just something that's a little bit different, and also trying to be somewhat consistent with the style and motifs that are in the existing structure now.
Brian, I have a question. Is this facing Temple City Boulevard?
No, this would be the directory sign that would be the entryway from Temple City Boulevard in. So as you're walking from Temple City Boulevard, from Temple City Boulevard onto into the parking area, it would be one of those panels that was.
Okay, so it's actually facing Temple City Boulevard.
No, it won't be
No.
facing Temple City Boulevard directly. It'll be
It's at
facing.
an angle.
Yeah, at more of an angle.
Oh, it's going to be at an angle.
Yeah, so you won't see it from Temple City Boulevard per se.
What's it made out of?
This is made out of aluminum, but I'll go through the rest as
Okay.
well.
Is that one panel? How many panels?
That one would be three layers, so it would be kind of layered on top of each other.
But it's still one panel.
Yes, yes, sir, one
It
panel,
is-
but three layers within the one panel.
Right, right. And I think at least we want the council to understand this is monochromatic, meaning this is the color. There's no other color on the panel itself.
Right, what you're seeing is the way it would be essentially presented.
So is it more
Right.
gray and grayish?
It's
and
aluminum color, yeah. It's
They're highlight-
silvery.
In my photo, it looks like they're highlights.
I have all, oh, we're talking about
Yeah,
the
so
first
there's
one, right? It's gray.
degradations,
Yeah, gray.
there's degradations, so you can see the differences, so it creates almost like a bit of a three-dimensional type of feel
Yeah.
to it as well.
No, I have that. I just would
It looks
wish I
different on the
knew,
paper
I
than
wish I
on the-
had a picture of the front of the parking. We probably don't
Okay,
have
so
anywhere.
if it's okay to move on, so I can show you
No,
the
no,
other
no, go
concepts as well.
Mayor Sternquist, I have a real quick question.
Yes.
In reading the report, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was to take the place of a directory sign, which staff's recommendation is a little premature because we don't have any destinations, I take it, or
I would
anywhere
describe
to
it as
go.
not.
But at this point, we haven't fleshed that out.
We haven't
Right.
developed an overall program for that yet.
So is
that's
this
what-
just a placeholder for that?
No, this would be what would be permanent.
Okay, and so a directory sign is going to go somewhere else?
Well, we would come up with a kind of a thought and a program related to wayfinding signs.
Okay.
May I? Mr. Cook, is there a cost associated with different options?
We have enough money in the budget overall to incorporate these, but to do this decorative element would be within the project cost around $3,000 to
Well,
$4,000.
$3,000 to $4,000?
Mhm.
So actually, my question is not that whether it's within the project budget. My question is that what are the relative costs associated with each option? In other words, which is more expensive, which is less expensive? Are they all the same, or?
They're all within that $3,000 to $4,000 range.
Okay. So, but still, I kind of like to know the difference in costs.
Yeah, we haven't completely fleshed that out yet.
Okay.
But that was just kind of a very rough estimate.
Okay.
So to follow up on Councilmember Fish's question, as you're entering the parking lot on Temple City Boulevard, you will be going into the parking lot and you will see this to the right or left of the entryway, or how's that going to work?
Michael, can you?
Where's it going
Yeah.
to be?
Do we have a
I'm not quite
picture?
sure where this is
I
going
don't
to be.
either.
We didn't add that as a part of the. We didn't add that as part of the discussion, but as I'm recalling the way that was
Because
set
I know
up.
on the corner of the parking lot, there's already, correct me if I'm wrong, it says Temple City, I believe. There's a,
It says downtown.
There, as you're
Goes
coming up
down.
north on Temple City
see
Boulevard,
it
there's
just-
something that says the downtown.
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 That's
Yeah.
it. So I'd like to know where this is going to be.
Let me see if I can find it.
Is it- is there a picture online of it somewhere? I'll ask Jerry. Yes, Mayor. Yes, Mayor. Can you ask Jerry Genovese if he's taking a picture of the front of this? No.
It's on along the side of the walkway that's
Yes.
cutting through the landscape area.
That was I didn't describe it as well. That's
He can just-
council
we can
member
just
is
get
exactly
on- we
right.
can
That's
just get on his
that's
website.
where it's cutting through. It's cutting through the walkway because there's no ingress or egress on Temple City Boulevard, but there's a walkway that cuts through, and it'll be in that walkway.
Yeah, there are some colonnades, columns, it has a lot of column
So
structures.
this sign is not going to be noticeable from the street.
No.
No.
Only once you're in the
Walking
parking lot
in.
and walking on that walking path that runs on the south side of the parking lot.
Right.
Will you be able to see this?
Jerry, do you have a picture of that on your website?
And where on the walkway is it
Darn.
going to be? Is it going to be midway between the
Yeah.
east and west?
It'll
end of
be
the
about
parcel?
midway between, yes. It'll be kind of, because the walkway is pretty
I don't
narrow
have any idea
between
what
the
it-
sidewalk
I don't
and
know what
the entrance to the actual parking stalls. So it'll be pretty much midway
I think what's
within
throwing
there.
us off is this, where it's placed, this seems to be on a wall. Is it in fact going to be on a wall? It looks like it's between a wall and something above it. Is that correct? Or is that, because the way you described it, it's gonna be on the walkway. If I remember, there's no wall there. It's just a walkway with,
We're actually going to pull up the plans real quick to
I
kind of
was just
show
gonna
you
say,
where that's
do we
at.
have a rendering? That
We're
would-
pulling up the
that would help.
approved plans really quick.
I'll raise you.
There we go.
I think the one before that shows from up above, it might be a better picture of, just past it.
I think the floor plan
Yeah, is that the floor plan?
So there's the walkway that's right here.
Wait, the walkway's where?
Right there, the walkway, so the decorative element would be in this general area here.
So that's what I'm saying, it's gonna be facing Temple, won't it be facing
It
Temple?
won't be facing out,
It's
it
at
will be
90
facing
degrees.
within 90 degrees within the walkway.
You can just see.
Okay, wait, go back to that spot. Go back to the previous. So it's gonna be right here, right
Yeah.
here?
On your right, I believe.
It's gonna
On
be
the south side, yeah.
here or here?
Upside down,
Right where
I
my
think
button-
it's on that side.
Right where that red spot is.
because that's work.
And it's gonna be facing south.
This is Temple City Boulevard.
Yes,
So it'll be facing south, right on that walkway.
yes. You can just, in this rendering, you can
That's
just
Temple
barely
City
see the edge of it right here.
Well, who's gonna see it there? And
Yeah, yeah.
why would we even want that there? For $4,000, I think we could spend a little bit of money wiser than that.
Well, that's why we're getting your direction tonight.
And this is aluminum panel, right?
Well, one of the suggested elements is
So that should it get tagged, we just wash it off?
that it probably won't be as that. I get what you're saying, Councilmember. That is one of the intended ideas behind doing that kind of element and using that kind of material.
Is it glass?
No, it is all aluminum.
Even the see-through part
All,
is aluminum
all the layers are
also?
aluminum. Yes.
So was the original, like you mentioned, a directory. So originally it was intended so that people would park and they would walk through that area and there would be a
And
directory.
they would see some kind of directory, but that hadn't been completely defined yet either.
So we can technically leave that area blank
Sure.
Can we?
And wait for the
then-
direction.
and wait for further direction.
And you
I-
could wait for
I-
we could wait for
I
something.
don't see a reason to even have it myself.
If that's the direction the
That's
council.
that's just my
the council
opinion. I mean, you can't see it from the street.
I think it's an attractive nuisance. People are gonna wanna do bad things to that thing. If anywhere, I'd put it on the corner where you have downtown, at least,
Yeah, I like it there.
you know,
Me too.
why not have it there where people can actually see something as you're driving into the city?
We already have some level of signage that you've seen already, and we've left this kind of area a little bit more open for a little bit of open space
Yeah.
that we've had, and kind of left that as more of a blank slate for now.
I thought that actually that the ad hoc had was that perhaps, you know, how we kind of sunset the art commission and then started the art committee process. We thought that might be a project if we were to do any kind of public art, that this might be a project for that. But staff said that they really did not think this is necessary a piece of public art, so.
I mean, I like the idea of it. I just don't like the fact that you can't see it.
Right.
So why are we spending $4,000 on something we can't see? I mean, that's just my opinion.
The way I see it is that initially was to be a sign for, directory sign, and it made sense because that's presumably where people are gonna walk out of the parking lot and wanna know where they're going or where they
Right.
can go. To me, putting a decorative element there just doesn't make much sense. I would prefer, because I don't know that it's gonna add that much to the whole parking lot, to be honest with you, and why don't we just wait till we get the directory, program underway, and that's where it'll go. We already have a spot for it. That would seem to make more sense to me.
If that's the direction of the council, no problem.
Well, we probably should at
Especially
least
at that
go through.
cost. I mean,
Yeah.
$4,000 for a decorative element that really is only going there because we don't have anything else to put there at the moment. Doesn't make much sense. To me, anyway.
Well, I think we should at least go through the rest of it. I think they are good efforts.
Okay, we'll go through the rest. So we can just show you the other concepts as well. So it's just show you the idea. And again, the idea overall is what we're trying to do is use what the council and the city approved as the camellia, and try to find different artistic, interesting ways, and we'll do a better job in the future of kind of presenting you this too, but just give you riffs on this as well. This is the parking signage that the standing committee did talk to us a little bit more in detail about, and we'll go into some as well, but I'll go to the other concepts that were in your packet as well. But you'll just see these are different iterations of the same general concept, but one in color that does use either aluminum or a type of material that does allow for painting to be on that. So this would be similar, somewhat similar colors, not exactly, but somewhat similar colors to what you see on the existing branding logo now.
Do those fade?
They will fade over time. Yes, they will fade over time, but they'll that was one of the ideas. But this is one of the graphic artists' kind of interpretation of what we're trying to do. Here was another thought as to looking at the same general concept. Another thought as well, almost creating kind of like a stained glass feel and look. Another one with both the stained glass, but the aluminum, less stained glass, but more of the aluminum out front, and layered and textured in the painted components of the camellia. And the concept we just talked about in a little more detail. Same thing here. And then just a concept, just a hollowed out concept of the camellia. So those are some of the concepts that we
I think these are good efforts. You know, if even if we may not use it at this parking lot, I think these are good attempts by how we take our new city logo and turn it into a piece of art, and perhaps there are other opportunities where we can use the same design. But whether or not this is the right location, that's why when staff first brought it up and we felt a little uncomfortable to make that call, we wanted to bring this back to the full council for consideration.
And I agree with you. I'm glad to see that we are using this. I don't think we're using this new logo enough.
Right, I agree.
And these are some beautiful designs. I still question the use of something like this at this point, at that location. And another reason for that is that we haven't yet talked about the wayward signs, the
parking wayfinding signs.
Wayfinding signs, which I presume are going to be at or near that area as well. And
yeah, in and around.
That, some of these have a pretty good decorative element to them as well. And we can certainly, I think, that makes more sense at this point than using this mosaic or whatever you want to call it, although it is beautiful, I agree. And I think we should start using more of this elsewhere in places that we're going to do this. And I agree with you. I think it is I think it is an art component. As much as we may not want to call it, it certainly is art, and you know, that's something that we certainly need to see more of.
I have a question, Brian.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it going to look awkward if there is nothing there?
I don't
Is there-
think so. I don't think it'll look awkward. There'll be a little bit of a blank space, but it's not going to be an eyesore.
But it's not going to look like there's something missing from it.
Well, there'll be a little bit of the structure that around it that has a bit of a gap, but I wouldn't call it an eyesore element of the. It's not going to take away from the
It's not gonna
overall
not look finished?
feel and
I
structure.
wish we had some photos of that, like
I know.
before and after.
We didn't include that in
Yeah,
the staff
before and after
report,
type
Councilmember
photo.
Chavez.
I'd like-
So
I'd like to see
I'm
what it
sorry
looks
that
like.
was missing from my staff report.
Okay.
If it's okay, can we move on to the parking wayfinding? So with the parking wayfinding, I'm going to get to, so we have various types of signage throughout the city that identifies both the location and the direction. And you really need both the signage for the location and the direction of public signage. And as you can see from what we did a quick sampling in and around Las Tunas, and actually mostly most of that's right out in front of this building here, we don't have uniformity. So what we thought was take the idea with the opportunity of 5800 coming online to explore some ideas that could be potentially something that is somewhat uniform, so that identifies public parking throughout Temple City and throughout all of our public parking lots. So you saw the concept that we explored, and we did talk to the standing committee about in a little more detail, but here's some of those concepts as well. So the concept is generally to, again, use the city logo, use a black background with a large universal P, identify public, so there would be one that's the location and one that's the directional. Some of the feedback that we got was to make those arrows a little bit more distinctive, if not larger, in part so you know where you're going, but it's important to know where you're going. We took another one, which at least this is just another concept, but nothing that it's a little bit more complex, and this would actually cost more from a fabrication standpoint. We don't have hard numbers on fabrication, but the ones that are horizontal and are more universal are much easier to fabricate, several $100s a sign versus, probably a little bit more for this type of signing. But again, trying to explore using the logo in an interesting manner and using the same type of color backgrounds.
Mr. Cook, are these within the current project budget?
Yes, sir.
But they have just, some are more expensive.
Some are slightly more expensive than others. The ones that are horizontal are a little bit easier and from a cost perspective to fabricate than these that are a little bit more distinctive and have a little bit more unique. But we're just trying to come up with some different thoughts and ideas.
Can you also tell us where they are located relative to the parking lot?
We did talk about that with the standing committee meeting, with the standing committee as well, and one of the things we'll have to do as well is sit from a traffic engineering standpoint and talk about some of the locations for the proper locations from a directional standpoint and the locations of the permanents throughout that area.
And there's also a possibility that the sign can be placed on an existing light pole or a
Yes.
pole instead of. One of the discussion items was, if you put all these extra signs, is there going to be too many poles
Right.
on
Right,
the corner?
right.
It just looks kind of strange.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
there's an existing light pole on that corner of Workman and
Oh,
Temple
okay.
City
That's
Boulevard.
much better.
So we wanted staff to look in to see if that was a possibility.
Yeah, I think we talked about a system of signs. Some would help folks driving by know there's a parking lot available, a public parking lot available. And one is at the intersection where the driveway into the alley, the entrance into the alley, that's another possibility.
Right.
Yeah, how to
The
get
other
in there.
Workman.
Yeah.
And the other one is once you enter, then there's another sign. So we talk about system of signs.
Brian, I have a question. Are we thinking in the future that we're going to change all of the signs?
That
To be
would be,
exactly
that
the
would be,
same?
that
Is
that
that
would
kind
be
of
the
our
thought. That would be
long-term?
Yeah, the long-term idea for this would be, are you comfortable with this concept? And this is something that would, going back to the amalgamation of different signage that we have to create a more unified
Right.
signage program that helps with the branding
Okay.
of the community.
That's kind of, okay.
So that was part of the thought process with this.
Where is that blue on the bottom right?
The blue on the bottom right,
That's
is
a-
Hoffman and
That's the
Los.
school board building in the background. School district building.
It's a really ugly sign.
They're all ugly.
It's really old, I'm sure.
They're all ugly.
Well, our graphic designer and along with staff tried to give you some interesting and fun options here. So came along with that. This also too, just playing with some different ideas. This obviously too, playing with the idea of the universal P, but again, going back to this concept was the one that we thought at least provided for easier fabrication, less cost of fabrication, and meet some creative design elements. Again, the standing committee along with staff work to talk about how we make those arrows a little bit more distinctive and more meet the intent of what they are, and also then talking with our city engineer and from a traffic engineering standpoint, making sure we're meeting where necessary all the standards in terms of MTUC, the traffic signage standards where necessary. This is another one of the last concept we talked about, just trying to find different ways again to use the logo. So that was that. So that's the concepts
I
we
like
went
that.
through.
I do too.
You like this one? Looks.
You know why I
do
like
too.
it? I like the Ford because it kind of, because of the design, it kind of looks like a flower almost, you know? It has the logo plus the softness of the, you don't have that hard edges, which kind of make you think of a camellia, I guess you could say. And it has the relevant information on there. You get all the color from the,
I like
from
the
the
color
new
too.
logo.
Oh, no,
I think it's just has more character than the other ones do. The other ones
Is
are
that 4?
number 4, yeah.
It looks like a pieces missing to me.
Yeah, well, I guess. So, yeah.
Brian, can you tell me how many signs we're thinking? Are we thinking of
We-
just one or
At
one on
least I think
Workman also?
Probably 4 to 6, depending
Oh
on.
my goodness.
But a limited
Really?
number at
That
first.
many on one parking lot?
Well, but we haven't fully determined
Well,
that yet.
See how
Like-
people drive out there?
Yeah, like you have traffic on both sides, right? So one would point this way, come in the other direction, one would point the same direction. So the
At
two
least
signs.
Wow.
And then there's one at the entrance up to the parking lot, at
Right.
least. So there are at least 3, and then we're talking about potentially more signs on Temple City Boulevard itself.
I like 3 or 4.
I don't like it. I like 3 and 4.
Yeah, there.
Okay.
It's pretty. I don't like the other modern ones.
Any other
And,
comments?
and also one, for me, it was difficult to visualize the scale of it. So one of the things
Oh, is that what
the
you put
committee
somebody
also
there?
talked about was maybe just have a mock sign.
Yes.
So to
Oh.
create like an actual size one, and then if you're interested, they can take it out there and you could actually stand on the street.
Yeah, that's right. We talked about printing one on
so you-
paper.
yeah.
Okay.
And just clipping on a piece of on a foam core and then
So-
sticking it up there.
So there's not a rule about what size it has to be?
If they're wayfinding, it's something different. But if they have a traffic implication, then that is something that has specific standards, and that's where we'd have to go back to our city engineer, traffic engineer, to kind of define what that was. How does this one play out versus this one?
Okay.
So these are just concepts that we have not, so for more work needs to be done once.
Yes,
we-
sir.
Last question. Do we have any idea how many parking signs we have in the city?
We have not done that inventory, Councilmember Fish.
Okay, just wanted to know.
So I've heard so far that 3 and 4
3 and 4.
are Come back, 3.
Yes.
I'd like Mayor Pro Tem, Mayor Pro Tem Mann's suggestion that maybe we could create a couple of real-life signs and put them out there, or at least get some photos of real life, what they look like.
Things always look different on paper than
yeah,
when it's
I know.
actually out there. So.
I also like the idea of putting
I
it
go
on an
back to the
existing
fact
pole.
that we're
That's
not
nice.
using our logo enough, and whatever we can do to brand that logo, I think more is better. And so the sign that utilizes that the most, I would probably be in favor of. And right now on the thing we have, it would be 3 and 4, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't necessarily object to the other ones, but it's really hard to tell. And even on the report that we get, these logos look like I think they're a little dark probably than what they normally would be out there in the real world, so.
On number
I don't know.
4, on the one to the left,
Mhm.
not that one, I'm sorry, number 3.
Number
Seems
3?
like the one on the left has more use of the logo.
It's actually, it's.
Oh, because
It's a different sign, though. One's a directional sign, one's a,
Yeah.
just,
Arrow has to
this
be
is where it
bigger.
is. Well, I don't know what name you gave it a name.
Wayfind.
Wayfind?
They're kind of both wayfinding.
Yeah, one of
One's
them is just
location.
like to
One's a
show a parking
location.
lot, and the other one
One's
has the
wayfinding.
arrow that tells you it's right there. I don't know.
Could that circle be made a little bit smaller?
The middle circle?
This
Yeah.
one?
Yeah,
On the one on the
05.
left, so that you even have more logo?
right.
Why does that circle need to be so much larger than the P?
Well, one, we just wanted to make sure that we were identifying that this is public parking and kind of the universal P for parking. But, you know, I mean, I don't
But
know
if
how
you
much,
make
I don't
it-
know how much more they can do there, to be quite honest, but I can ask.
Because even if you
We can
came
ask, Steph
in-
and I can ask the graphic artist.
Came in a little bit and made the white section smaller around the P, you'd have more of the logo.
Okay, well, we can see what the graphic artist can do to play around with that.
And I presume the white is reflective?
Yes.
So that P's gonna stand out, no matter what the size is of that white.
And it's black? Or
Yeah, right.
dark?
Yeah, the trim up top, the border on top, and then the P is black. Yes, sir.
P is black.
Okay. Well, we can explore that as well.
Does it
So-
have to say Temple City on it?
We would suggest it say Temple City.
The next one doesn't have that, right?
Yes, all of them
Where
have
does
it.
it say Temple City on
It's
that?
it's
Oh,
very
way up
light.
on top.
This one on the bottom, this one on top.
That one looks like a bite was taken off. It's so tiny.
Would the black be difficult to see at night? I mean, it's like a black P.
But the white's
I've seen black
reflective.
signs as well. We're trying to stay consistent
I don't
with
care.
what the existing logo
Yeah.
do. So I don't think, it doesn't sound like it would be, it doesn't seem like it'd be a significant challenge,
Yeah.
but it's consistent with other signage that we've had, or other banners and other things that we've had.
Yeah. The only other comment I have is that arrow that's on the right-hand side that's meant for like making a right turn. Here you turn into the alley. That arrow might be hard to read compared to the other ones. Because if you showed, let's say number 2, see that arrow.
The iTunes store for Timeless and number 2.
Well, I don't know. I didn't touch it. You saw my hand was up here. I don't know what happened there. It just has its own life.
Is this one, sir?
Yeah. Yeah. So the arrow, you can see. Well, maybe the arrow should need to be bigger, but there's definitely a line going that way. So I think.
I have a question. Does it have to have the P on it? Can't it just say public
Universal.
parking? I know, but
We
I know, and
we
I
could-
know
we
we're
could
just,
explore-
now
we
we're
could
just
ex-
kind of
we
like, you
could
know.
explore that, but the idea was to make it very identifiable that it's parking.
Mayor Sternquist, can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Since it would appear to me that not only are we making a decision tonight regarding this particular parking lot, but it seems, based on the comments of some of council members, that this may be something that we may want to consider replacing citywide. So we would want to come up with a design that's going to fit citywide. And my suggestion would be that maybe we put this over and maybe staff could prepare some mock-ups of these things and bring them in here so we can take a look at them rather than looking at them on a piece of paper. Because it's a bigger decision than just for this parking lot, I think. And we might as well take our time and really look at it, and maybe we can get some comments from the public and stuff like that, or at least, and have it on the agenda that we're gonna select a wayfinding sign that night, because, you know, it just seems to me that these other designs, it's time to replace these other public parking signs. I don't know where we're gonna get the money to do it, but at some point we're probably.
Well, fine. It would be helpful if we could narrow down and tell us maybe some of the ones you do not like. If we could narrow it down so we don't have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 options, excuse me, but more like 3 options to go through, so that would be easier for us to kind of give you those mock-ups so you can make a decision from there, if that would be helpful
Okay,
from a direction standpoint.
what do you
So
think?
if I go through them again. here-
Three, I would say
1,
3 and 4.
2B.
I would say 1, 3, and 4.
Can you go back to 1?
I don't know.
One
I don't
doesn't,
really like the
one
ones that say
doesn't,
P on there.
I don't either, but one doesn't have a whole lot of flowers on it.
Yeah, it doesn't have a lot.
Can we just do 2?
You
Just
you
3
give
and
us
4?
whatever direction you like. We just want to make sure that if the council still wants to explore something, this would give them the opportunity to do that, and so that we can come up with some final direction, and we're ready for fabrication and those kind of things.
I think number 3 will be the most economical to fabricate, and I think.
Which one though? There's
that
A,
the
B,
one,
and C though.
3C.
3C, yeah.
Yeah.
I like 3C.
Yeah,
I like-
I agree with
yeah.
a lot of things that's been said, like it has more of a logo, and maybe we can shrink that white circle down a little bit, and maybe increase the right turn arrow, make it a little larger. Because it's, well, I do agree, number 4 also looks nice with the flower on the top and all that. But if we were gonna do it, adopt it citywide, I'm concerned about cost. I think, square
Yeah, it
flags
probably is a
tend
little
to
more
be,
expensive to prepare.
So I would suggest
I like
considering
3C.
3C.
What about 1
I don't like 1.
as an alternative? I don't want to just come back with
black.
1.
One, it did not
much
fill
black?
your, because you said it, you want to
Doesn't have a lot
take
of
advantage
logo
of
on
the
there.
logo. I think that's not quite enough. Yeah.
Any of them do, except for,
Yeah, but if we just have them come back with 1, that,
what, do you want them
Our
to come back with
decision's
4?
already made.
Yeah, do you want to
3C.
come back with 4?
We need, I think, he's asking to come back with maybe 2 or 3.
Then we should, I would say it's 3 and 3C and 4.
Me too.
Yeah.
I agree.
3C and 4?
Yeah, and maybe come by with a revised one with the smaller white area. So we
And
see
and
more.
reduce
Yeah.
the white area.
Yeah, that white is a little large, I think, on 3C.
Okay, so the direction that we're receiving related to the parking wayfinding signs is come back with mocks of 3C and 4.
And if
And with the differentiations on reducing the white where we can, and the directional signage.
And in addition to mock-up, or at least maybe accompany the mock-up, maybe you can take that sign and put on the photograph, the photo montage, so that we can visualize where they will be located. Because we talk about the different kind of signs, we're still not clear in our mind as to where they are.
Right.
So if you can show us where they are
There
on
were
the
locations.
5800, 'cause
Yeah.
you drive down Temple City, this is what you see. You drive down Woodward, this is what you see, and that kind of.
agree.
Yeah.
We're not waiting for this sign to open the parking lot, right?
No, we don't need to.
Okay,
No.
good.
No, we don't need for the waiting, and that's why the direction tonight would be, if for the temporary interim use, would be that we would do some essentially door-to-door outreach with the businesses along TC Boulevard and Las Tunas to say, hey, this is open, this is ready for your use.
When is that happening?
We're shortly after we get direction from you tonight, we'll start in the next few weeks.
Are we gonna plan for a simple celebration?
We will plan for a simple celebration. Yet, big, and we were waiting for the direction tonight. The direction to come back with the wayfinding signs was helpful, but that's not going to preclude the opening of.
So by the end of the month, we should,
That's.
can we make that a target date?
Yes, we'll make. I will define that target date for you and send that out for you, so you know exactly when it is.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
So okay, we got direction on the wayfinding. Did you want to go back to the discussion on the decorative element, or is that
It seems like no one was really interested in that area for it.
Okay, but we like the idea of what we tried to explore, but
No,
not
I appreciate it.
necessarily in this location for
At
this
that
one.
location.
Is that the direction of the council as well?
Yes.
My feeling.
Yes.
And I'll
Do we
also
need a
just
vote?
reiterate what Councilmember Yu said. I appreciate the effort and the work that went into it, and it looks like it could have good applicable use elsewhere. But at that specific spot, yeah, like Councilmember Fish said, if no one's going to see it, unless you're walking in the walkway, that's like the only spot where you can actually see it, then yeah, I
I
agree.
think I was, when I was reading it, I just really wasn't sure where it was.
That wasn't clear.
But,
I should
yeah,
have
but
cleared that in
once
my
I
staff
was,
report.
once it was, I was explained exactly where it was, then it doesn't.
And I too appreciate the creativity and wanting to
No, absolutely.
stretch, and we want to continue to do that, and that's what we're trying to do, reflective of that. But if that's your direction tonight, no problem, we will implement that.
Okay.
Okay.
Lastly, last item for tonight is just to talk to you, and it's laid out in your staff report a little bit. So the interim use would be all-day parking. It is somewhat consistent with the general concept of shorter-term parking, nearest businesses, longer-term parking in the back. And we've laid out very specifically what we would look for in updating the the downtown parking downtown parking strategy, and what some ideas we would come. But we wouldn't just wait for the study to be done. As we have the consultant on board, and if they have what I would call some low-hanging fruit items, we'll come to you before that and say, hey, we've identified X, Y, Z, and this maybe needs 30-minute parking now, or those kind of things, and come up to you and say, hey, based on this new analysis, what was 2-hour parking here is now it should be maybe 1-hour parking, or those types of things. Those are easy, quick action item changes that we can make. We'll come to you though, and if that's as that's progressing. So that's our direction on that's where we'd like to go with that.
So when you said that you're going to outreach to the businesses that now this is open and available, you're not encouraging them to park there?
We're encouraging anybody to park there, the
Right.
businesses or the patrons. It's open.
The business owners, people that work in the businesses to park there?
Well, it's being used some of the parking's already being used by the business employees now. The general concept, again, is, in this, you don't need the parking study to tell you this, the general concept is
Yeah.
you want shorter term
gonna be
parking
open.
and turnover closest to the establishments, and longer term parking farther away from that. So that's why we're suggesting this as the interim measure now, so that it can hopefully encourage some activity, and to do that. So we would, that's who's going to use these parking stalls anyways. So we want to encourage the use. So that's why we want to be a little bit more proactive and just not send out flyers, but knock on their doors. Hey, it's available and it's here, and here's the interim use for now.
And also, if I may, Mayor, in the past year, we've had, I believe, one issue that has come before council regarding the parking lot on the southeast corner of Temple City Boulevard in Las Tunas. And that was when I believe staff brought back some proposed changes on adding more 2-hour parking, was it? Because there are some restaurant uses that figured that would be more beneficial to them. And also, anecdotally, I've spoken to some of the business owners in the past year and a half or so, and they've actually said that their employees park in that lot, and they constantly switch spots
Right.
every
So
time the
this was like
time
the
is up.
escrow company that had
Yes,
a
exactly.
real issue. So this way they are not, they can park in this lot.
Yeah, so the idea is that, like Mr. Cook said, if we know the employees are going to park somewhere, and so if we can alleviate some of that, then that would in turn help whatever patrons or customers that would use the shorter term parking
And
for
there's how
for
many
them.
spaces? 22?
27.
27.
And Brian, what are the hours of all-day parking?
Hours, Michael, the hours of all-day parking are operating hours? Anytime outside of 2 to 6, correct?
For all the other parking lots, you can't park from 2 to 2 to 5 a.m., which is the same as our regular street parking. The new parking lot, the conditional use permit that the Planning Commission adopted, they put more restrictive hours on it since it's right next to residential. So it's
Okay.
either, depending on whether it's used for unrestricted parking or employee parking, it's either, I believe it has to be closed between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. If it's open for general parking because of the proximity
Okay.
to residential.
Okay.
Well,
Thank
I'm
you.
excited for this to get open.
Me too.
We're working on it.
It looks finished.
It's 90+% there. So, okay, so if that direction is okay as well, I think it sounds like
Yes.
we have direction on all three? Yes?
So we need a council motion?
No, I think, or do we need council motion on that direction?
Only if you're going to solicit proposals on that.
Yes. So for item 2, I need a motion.
Okay.
What's item 2?
Actually, did we open it for public comment yet?
Oh, we didn't do,
We need to open public comment.
Oh.
We have Steve Stafford.
Mayor Sternquist, Mayor Pro Tempore Mann, council members, city staff. I saw something about 3 weeks ago. There were kids skateboarding in that parking lot. And I like to see signs posted in there, no skateboarding. Because they're just gonna tear that place up. You know, and what they're doing is there's an alley there. They're running between the alley and right through the parking lot. I want to know if it's possible to put up signs there that say no skateboarding. The other thing is I like 4 and 1. Those are the pretty good choices. But again, if you can put up some signs that say no skateboarding there, it would be really good. Thank you.
We have a no skateboarding sign at the
park.
memorial. Do we?
I do not believe so.
You might want to put one there too.
I think, I'm not sure skateboarding is allowed in our parks.
I believe
I
it's
think-
prohibited as well.
Do we have a sign?
I don't believe we
Leather
do.
Park does. I don't know about City Park.
Maybe
I
we can check.
believe
I
it
would
was
think
Cap.
it does not.
Oh,
Yeah, there's some signs.
Thank you, Kathy.
there's Kathy.
There are some signs in the park, not exactly at the.
At the memorial.
Oh,
Okay.
never saw it.
Okay, anyone else from the public? Jerry? 2 minutes and 2 seconds.
This won't take long. Several years ago, we had an opportunity to get on a bus and tour the city of some sites. One of them was the new Rosemead and Las Tunas project that was going up. And I was having a conversation with Councilmember Bloom at that time. And I think one of the pictures that City Manager Cook put up was the entrance sign to the parking lots that had the River Rock on it and the city seal. And I said, and it was like 8 o'clock at night, and I said, it's really dark out here. How come that sign is not lit? I would love to see that sign lit. It hasn't been done. I know that since that time, you know,
think about that.
electricity's hard to bring in. Maybe it's not even there, but maybe some solar signs or lights could be shining up on it, because when it's dark at night, you don't even know it's a parking lot. It's not that well lit. So it certainly would be nice to have lights that go up to it and illuminate it, because it is a pretty, what I want to call a monument, but, you know, with the River Rock. So thank you.
Okay, Anyone else? Okay, going to close public comment. Any council comments? William?
Sure. I just maybe just briefly, when the standing committee was discussing this, and I've also talked with City Manager Cook about this on occasion. I just think from a broader picture standpoint, there's a lot of things coming into play right now that I guess it's coming up. Part of the discussion that I believe staff is bringing back is sort of the overall strategic plan, and we just have so many different elements that are kind of just, from my perspective, just kind of floating out there. But things like this 5800 coming into play, the Primrose stuff being developed, potentially this updated parking study, and also the Las Tunas Standing Committee on beautification elements. Potentially, all these are, to me, are linked to some form of a larger economic development plan. I mean, we've had the Las Tunas discussion before, but to me, that doesn't mean we abandon that discussion. I think this is all the different pieces that need to kind of be put together. So I think it's an exciting time, even though this is just a parking lot, but to be able to kind of do a lot of elements that are outlined in the staff report, like business outreach, I think that's a really important element as part of all the things we're doing is better business outreach. Because the last thing we want is to put something there and nobody uses it. So I'm just excited, and I think that with a lot of the stuff that's coming up in later this year, even the general plan update, that's I think it's another important element to kind of for us to put together a blueprint for what downtown could be like in 10, 20 years. I remember in maybe a past conversation with a former Alhambra City Council member, I remember asking him the question about what it took for downtown Alhambra Main Street to kind of develop to that point, and he basically said it took 20 plus years of planning. And so, you're able to set certain things in motion, but you may not see the plans come into fruition until 15, 20 years down the line. So with that, I'm hoping this is a step towards what we all hope to see as some sort of a revitalization of our downtown. So that's all.
Anyone else? Okay, can we have a motion for the two?
Yes. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to authorize to solicit bids for
5,800.
Is that one we're doing? Number 2 is for the
The downtown parking strategy.
Parking strategy, yeah. Now okay, let me start over. I would like to make a motion to direct staff to authorize and solicit bids for an update to the city's downtown parking strategy.
Second.
Okay, we need a roll call, please. No?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Chavez?
Yes.
Councilmember Fish?
Yes.
Councilmember Yu?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Mann?
Yes.
Mayor Sternquist?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, members of council. Appreciate the direction as we move forward.
We move to item 10, new business, none. Communications, any?
From me, yes, or update number 12, yes.
Okay, no communications, so update from our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Sternquist, members of the council. A couple quick things. Our cooling center that has been working over time, and you may have seen Mayor Sternquist on Channel 7, I believe, ABC News, talking about our cooling centers. They'll be open till September 6th, but we will have them up and running throughout what sounds to be a very hot September and early October. In terms of events, we got a little bit of a cool down, but we will have a meeting before the Temple City Day at the LA County Fair, which is Thursday, September 21st. Everything is on our website. Flyers, you see a banner out along Las Tunas as well. So
We have a bus, I believe, right?
Kathy, we do have a bus that will be, they can contact staff and Parks and Recreation staff related to some transportation that will be potentially available. We'll get that information out. Lastly, I want to thank Parks and Recreation staff who get a little bit of a breather for a few weeks, but a very successful concert series. Again, takes a lot of hard work, and every time I come in after being here on Wednesday night and come here on Thursday morning to see the park in such pristine condition is always impressive. So, thank you. That's it for tonight's comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. An update from our city attorney?
Mayor and council members, I was going to talk about the upcoming League of California Cities a little bit, but none of you can make it because of your otherwise already heavy conference schedule. So I'm going to defer those comments, or just I'll come back with something at our next meeting for you. How about that?
Thank you.
Can I take a little bit, one
Yes.
piece of his time? Mayor Sternquist alerted me, the legislation that the council opposed related to stormwater fees recently in June is on the governor's desk. I, on behalf of the council, sent to the governor's office the letter of opposition that the council unanimously expressed and voted on back in June. So we'll get an idea. He has 30 days for it to sit on his desk for either a no signature veto, or signing it.
And if he signs it, that would impose a tax
It
on
would
stormwater.
It would impose the ability for a local agency to impose that fee, as they're defining it, without applying, without applying the 218 provisions that a majority protest vote and all the other provisions that are normally allowed for those types of activities.
So residents could possibly see just an increase in their tax bill.
In the assessment related
that.
to that activity, yes, they could see that increase. But
Do
we
we know
will keep abreast of it, as well as we're keeping abreast of the stormwater issue very constantly as well. Michael and I receive some information that we'll be able to update the council in a couple weeks related to just the next phase, the next the version of the stormwater permit, those kind of things. So we're staying very closely abreast of what is happening. That was it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, council reports regarding ad hoc or standing committee meetings. Do we have any? Councilmember
Do you
Yu?
want to report on the audit?
You go ahead.
Well, Councilmember, you and I did meet with the Audit Standing Committee. Basically, as you know, part of our quarterly meetings that we've set up to make sure that our audits and financials are doing well. And I'm happy to report that everything is moving along. The staff is continuing to work with our auditors, and nothing really significant to report.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Item 15, council item separate from the city manager's regular report. Anyone?
I'll go.
Did you want to call them out?
Councilmember Yu?
I'm good, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Mann?
I'm also good, thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Chavez?
Thank you.
I'm going in line.
Okay.
Except for me.
She gets to go last.
I know.
Mayor's prerogative.
Yeah.
I know that our city manager has discussed with a few of you already, and I just wanted to bring to your attention a matter that the youth committee has asked to look into, basically, and that is develop a kind of a shadow and mentorship program with the council. Basically, and I'll read you the goal, to provide mentorship opportunities to youth committee members, giving them an opportunity to experience the decision-making process on issues that affect our community and what is involved when serving as an elected official. What they would like to do this fall as part of their program is to sort of shadow a council member. And we've come up with the different engagement activities which they could possibly do, some of which, of course, they were up to the individual council member, but perhaps sit in with a council member with their one-on-ones with the city manager, or maybe meet with a council member to review the agenda package for a meeting and to discuss what information is necessary and why. Or maybe even sit next to a council member. Maybe one evening we can have them up here on the dais with us to kind of experience what it is to run a meeting. and also maybe to shadow a council member at a special city event or even an outside organization which they represent the city on. Sort of just to get an idea of what the city is involved in both locally as well as regionally. So we're hopeful that city council members will be receptive to that. You know, your time is they're very valuable, we know, and of course, whatever time you can give, whatever you're available. I guess where we go from here is, I know Peggy and Jillian will be talking with our youth committee members to find out what their availability is so that we can better match up with the council members because of our work schedules and everything else that's entailed in that. So more information to follow on that, but if we, you know, it's something that perhaps we can all give back, and I know that the youth committee members are very excited about it. They want to learn more about the process of governing, especially here in the city, and who better to show them that than the actual city council members.
Councilmember Chavez, don't they outnumber us?
Yes, they do. So that means we're each going to get a couple. But as I said, whatever time you can give to it, if there's no set amount, what you can do, what they can do. They're very busy as well. And so hopefully this is something that's going to take place over the next 2 or 3 months, not going to happen overnight. So they'll have the opportunity to make some events and to work with your schedules and their schedules as well. So, so any questions about that? Or, you know, I hope that you'll have fun with it. I think you will. And I know many of you know a lot of the youth committee members already, and
the city of Claremont does this, but the students that shadow them are from the college out in Claremont, and they're public policy students.
Public policy or political.
Right. So I mean, they actually like to Foothill Transit. Corey, the mayor, would bring his person out with him. He's actually from the Netherlands, which is so he's really experiencing local government here. It's pretty interesting.
So, you know, we'll leave that up to each of you to decide, you know, what would be interesting or what you could possibly do. And again, as your schedule permits, and, you know, we appreciate whatever you can do. So
Thank
I
you.
think it'll be a fun event.
Okay.
More to follow.
Sounds exciting.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, it sounds really good.
Councilmember Fish?
Just a couple of things. Wanted to remind everyone that this Thursday, I believe it's the 7th, is our next Senior Master Plan Advisory Committee meeting. It's at the Live Oak Park Annex at 6:30, and it is open to the public. And also Wednesday, tomorrow night, Wednesday the 6th, the Chamber of Commerce is having a mixer at the Temple City American Legion Hall, which the address is 9522 Las Tunas Drive. It's actually upstairs above the beauty school. That's from 7 to 9 p.m. So we hope you can join us for that. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, since we are talking about logos and branding, is do we have any kind of a schedule or what is going on with the banners that are on Las Tunas, or Las Tunas, on Rosemead, that are really faded and ugly?
I can report back at a future meeting, but just, I can tell you right off the top, no, we do not have a replacement schedule for those, but we would like to come back and talk about some level of replacement.
Can we, they're looking pretty raggedy. And that's all I have, thank you.
Speaking of raggedy, may I add something, Madam Mayor? I think the railroad bridge on Rosemead Boulevard, I think the paint is peeling. We painted that when we did the Rosemead Boulevard project.
Northbound?
Yeah, northbound, but facing Monday, south-facing side of the bridge.
Oh, yes, okay.
I think we painted that, so the paint's peeling, looking pretty bad. So.
I can report back.
It's right. It's the backdrop of our Temple City model.
Right. I know exactly what you're talking about, sir.
Okay. At the sheriff's monthly meeting, we were talking about public safety. The topic of fireworks came up. And after a brief discussion on the fact that we continue to talk about fireworks, but we actually don't really take an in-depth look at them and to see what other alternatives we have for fireworks. I asked Brian what having fireworks in our city costs the city just from a public safety standpoint. And I believe that was about $9,000, between $7,000 and $9,000.
Depending on the year.
Depending on the year. So I think that's something to keep in mind also, that as, you know, fireworks seem to get bigger and louder each year, and this year we had $18,000, I believe, in, excuse me, in citations issued. It is an expensive thing to have in our city, not to mention the problems associated with the Safe and Sane fireworks, just because people will come in and use illegal fireworks and just try and blend in with our city. But the important thing is that we all know that it is a way to support our youth groups. And I think that we're creative enough, council, and have a creative enough staff to look at the issue and be creative about it. And when you actually have one of our deputies, you know, say at the meeting, he's pretty much done with the fireworks also and the problems that it causes, I thought it would be important to really take an in-depth look. And I thought it would be also very nice for our newest council members to be part of that ad hoc committee. So I was going to ask both Nan and William if they would please, you know, work together and if you can, and look at some alternatives, and possibly after, you know, some time, maybe we can even, Eric, would that bridge to a standing committee if they would then involve a couple of the youth group members so that they would have their input also?
If the original committee's of just a short duration to develop some initial alternatives, you could do it as an ad hoc and invite members of the youth committee or whoever else you wanted to attend. Mm-hmm. If you're going to have a committee that's longer and assign permanent members, then it becomes a standing committee.
Okay, so I think an ad hoc would be best to start with, if you would both be willing to do that.
Okay.
And then set up a time that's convenient for both of you. And
sure,
maybe we could have an initial report back in about 3 months, if that would give you some time.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for that. And then just something, I have spoken to Brian a few times about this, and I didn't know if council was aware of this, but I thought it was important, and maybe Michael and Brian, you can bring back some information on it. But when I was out visiting West Covina, I was in their community development department, and jokingly their director said, "When are you going to bring your city council out to Porto's? It's going to open up." And I said, "I know, we really wanted to have them. How did you get them?" And he goes, "Well, you know, we used our CDBG funds." And I said, "Well, you can't use your CDBG funds." And he said, "Yeah, you can. We were very creative with them." So I mentioned that to Brian, and what they actually did is they took $300,000 of their CDBG funds and they courted Porto's and said, "You put in, we'll give you $300,000. You put in $300,000 matching funds." And that's one of the reasons Porto's went out to West Covina. So Brian, you, I believe, called the county, and they did say that we didn't think we could use the funds because we're not an entitlement city. Is that how it works, Brian?
Yeah, there's some nuances to that, and it would be happy to bring back a report to the council.
If you could bring that back to them.
Michael can work along with Adam Gullick, who is our chief liaison, who both of whom have done a good job of the program in the last couple of years. We can report back and talk to you about what we are as a non-entitlement city, what eligible uses there are, and a big component of that is what kind of pot of money we actually have to use is a large component of that. Happy to bring that back as a report to council.
Right, just so if they can have an understanding of it, and even if it's not that large a pot, it might be enough to solicit a small business owner to come to our city and open up something. But I remember a couple years back, we were looking at, well, what program can we do to utilize the rest of the CDBG funding that we had available. So we might as well look at it, and if it's a way to court somebody that we want to come to our city, why not? So
Is that new, or is it just an
CDBG
inventive?
funds,
No. I
oh.
mean that they were able to use it.
I think they were just very creative in the way they figured out how to use it,
Wow.
and their
That's great.
city makeup is different than ours. They're much larger, and the socioeconomics, I think, are different there too.
Yeah, there's a lot of different elements and how those funds and the guidelines for the use of those funds as well. So we'll be able to report back to you, kind of give you like a primer 101 a little bit about that one more time, and then talk to you about what are some potential options that we're maybe not using now that we could use. And
I think that's the key, is to understand what those options are
Yeah.
and what's available, and then we can make a decision going forward if that's the direction we want to go. Let's see. Happy to report that last month the COG and ACE decided all the people involved to merge together. So the COG will be working on a search for a new executive director. And it'll be an interesting time with the Council of Governments, and hope to bring you back some exciting news as the process moves forth over the next year, and forming a new San Gabriel Valley COG, and with ACE as part of it. So it is exciting times. Busy, but exciting. I don't think I have anything else. So we are going to move to item 16, reimbursement of expenses. There are none. We're going to recess to the successor agency to the Temple City Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. May we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Agency Member Chavez.
Here.
Agency Member Fish.
Here?
Agency Member Yu.
Here.
Vice Chair Mann.
Here.
Chairman Sternquist.
Here. Move to item 3, consent calendar. Can we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, if no objections, so moved. Unfinished business, none. New business, none. No communications. Any public comments? No public comments. We're going to close that. Update from Executive Director and Agency Council? None. Matters from agency members?
No.
Okay, just a question. If we don't do anything, we just have to do this once every so often?
Yeah, while the agency is still winding down for some number of months still, it has some bills that have to be paid. So essentially, this just comes up every quarter or 6 months. It'll eventually go away.
Okay. Okay, so we're in adjournment, and we are back to additional public comments on items not listed on the agenda. Jerry.
Mayor Sternquist, I appreciated your comments on the fireworks. I just want to let out a little secret. Our Kiwanis Club, we're having a budget meeting tomorrow night. The 3 major things that we drive our funds for to help the youth of our community are our barbecue, pancake breakfast, and concerts in the park. Well, I'm happy to report to you that those 3 things bring in about $10,000 a year net to us. So there are ways for nonprofits to be creative and come up with some other ideas to raise funds for their organizations. So I just wanted to let you know that we used to work our tails off at some of these projects, and we got nowhere, but we just kind of got creative, and it worked out just fine. So thank you.
Great.
Next year, we're going to do something maybe a little bit different at our barbecue. We're getting all tired of putting it on. We're going to thinking of having it catered. It'll be our 50th annual barbecue. We started at Community Disposal, where your yard is down there now. And we're thinking of having Jake's Barbecue cater it for us. So I think it'll be a fun time. But these are other ways of us getting creative and saving our knees and our hips and all that other kind of stuff. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I believe we are in adjournment.